It might look a little unassuming, but the BMW X1 was a real game changer. You see, it was one of the first small SUVs to wear a premium badge, and just as it had found when it relaunched the Mini brand, BMW discovered that buyers are willing to pay more for big car luxury in a small car package. The original X1 though was a bit of a flop. It was noisy, cramped inside and disappointing to drive. So when the company set about developing this second generation model, it knew it had to up its game considerably. And this X1 arrives at a time when competition in this market is especially fierce. Its key rivals include the Audi Q3, Mercedes GLA and Volkswagen Tiguan. So the big question then, has BMW solved all the problems of the original X1 and in doing so created a real contender in this car? Or will it turn out to be just as much of a damp squib as its predecessor? Keep watching to find out, starting with how it handles on UK roads. You've got 4 engines to choose from in the X1, and as you might expect for an SUV, 3 of them are diesels. Kicking things off is the 18D, which with 148 brake horsepower feels perfectly powerful enough in the X1. It's nice and responsive from low down in the rev range, making the car ideal around town. In fact, it's our pick of the range. Next up is the 187 brake horsepower 20D engine, which we've got in this car, and then the 228 brake horsepower 25D above that. Both feel pleasantly fast, and the 25D is rapid enough to compete with most hot hatchbacks. If you won't be doing enough miles to justify a diesel, then the 189 brake horsepower 20i engine is your sole option. You can opt for either a 6-speed manual gearbox or an 8-speed automatic. Go for the auto and you'll enjoy smooth changes up and down. Most engines can be had with either front or four-wheel drive, and unless you'll be climbing any mountains, we'd stick with the former. The X1's ride is slightly stiffer than you'll find in most other SUVs, but that seems in keeping with its sporting remit. You can specify adaptive dampers, which allow you to adjust the suspension at the touch of a button. Handling is where the X1 really begins to shine. Its steering is nicely weighted, making it easy to place on the road. It's even enjoyable to drive at speed. In fact, it's more fun to drive quickly than most of its rivals. The diesel engines do tend to sound a bit gruff though if they're pushed hard, but more worrying is the amount of tyre noise generated at speed. At 70 miles an hour, it's enough to cause you to raise your voice. This is exactly the kind of interior you'd expect to find in a modern BMW. It's a great place to spend time, and it's easy to find a perfect driving position thanks to lots of adjustment both in this seat and in this steering wheel, which moves up and down as well as in and out. It's just a shame that adjustable lumbar support is only optional across the range, so if you plan on doing lots of motorway miles, it might be worth adding. Elsewhere though, there's a real feeling of quality in here, and it can even give Audi's Q3 a run for its money. There's lots of great materials on display and they all look and feel solid. It's also good to have some proper chunky buttons here on the dashboard rather than having everything confined to a touchscreen. Now, being an SUV, the X1 gives you a nice raised driving position, and that makes it easy to see out of the front of the car. As is usual in this class though, looking out of the back can be more difficult because of its sloping roofline, but thankfully every X1 gets reverse parking sensors as standard, and you can add a reversing camera from the options list. There's only one word needed to describe the infotainment package which you get in this BMW X1, and it's brilliant. It's all based around BMW's iDrive system, and as standard you get a DAB radio, a USB socket, CD player, Bluetooth connectivity and sat-nav, all presented on a 6.5-inch screen. The interface works really well with this rotary controller, and the menus are easy to figure out. In fact, it's all very intuitive. Now, if you want an upgraded setup, then you can go for the Navigation Plus package, which we've got in this car. And with this, you get a larger 8-inch screen and an updated sat-nav, which can show you real-time traffic information. You also get a cool head-up display, which can show you the most critical information, such as your speed and any sat-nav directions, directly into your line of sight. And that means that your attention is kept on the road. So two of the most common things that we're going to do with an infotainment system is set a destination in the sat-nav and pair our mobile phone via Bluetooth. So let's see how easy it is to do in this BMW X1. First of all, I've got the infotainment system set up here, and I'm going to choose Bluetooth menu, and I'm going to add a new device. So that means the system is now discoverable. So if I go to my phone and go to settings and Bluetooth, should be able to find the BMW. There we go, it's come up as hands-free. So we're going to connect to that. Got a pairing request, do the numbers match? Yes, they do. They always do. In fact, I've never come across a set of numbers that don't match in this situation. Checking passkey, okay. There we go, it looks like we're connected. That was really easy to do. If we accept and connect, so I can now use my phone, even stream my music to the infotainment system. And that means that my attention is kept on the road where it belongs. So now that that's done, let's see how easy it is to set a destination in the sat-nav. To do this, I'm going to press the nav button down here. Takes us to this brilliant map view. The iDrive system really is very good at giving you the best information and showing you really clearly the simplest route to get where you need to go. So if I press the nav button again, I'm going to go to destination input, and I'm going to select our offices in Twickenham. So if I go to TWI, there we go, it's found Twickenham already on this list. And I'm going to just aim for the centre. If we start guidance, we should get... You can select a number of routes based on the most economical route, the most direct, the one that'll take the shortest time. I've selected the fastest route here, and as we can see, it's already figured it out. We've got 6 minutes of traffic. It's one of the banes of living near London. But as we can see, it's giving me a really clear route to follow. And like I say, these sat-nav directions can even be displayed on this head-up display, so you get your attention firmly on the road. Even if you're a taller adult like me, you'll still find there's enough space to stretch out here in the front of the BMW X1. Headroom is pretty generous, and even though this interior is not much wider than that of a Volkswagen Golf, there's still enough space for two adults to sit side by side without rubbing shoulders. There's also plenty of space for all of your odds and ends, whether it be in these two cup holders down here, this small cubby space in front of them, these door pockets which can hold a much bigger bottle of water. There's a big space here under the centre armrest, and of course you've also got a traditional glove box. It's a similar story for anybody sitting in these rear seats, because while there's not as much room as you'll find in, say, a Volkswagen Tiguan, two 6-foot adults will be absolutely fine back here, even over longer journeys. As is often the case with small SUVs though, if you try and introduce a third person onto this rear bench, then everyone will feel a bit more cramped. In terms of boot space, you'll be able to get more into the BMW X1 than you would in either the Audi Q3 or the Mercedes GLA. This space is usefully square, so loading bulkier items such as prams or the couple of suitcases we've got here shouldn't be difficult at all. On this model, we've also got an extra space here underneath the boot floor, perfect for storing smaller items. Now, should you find yourself in need of more space, then you can easily drop the rear seats using these toggles on either side of the boot, and that leaves you with a big area that's useful flat. Even better, every X1 gets an electric tailgate as standard. The BMW X1 is a premium car, so it costs more on paper than many other small SUVs. It's also predicted to lose its value faster than key rivals, especially compared to the Audi Q3. Now, that all being said, there are decent discounts available from dealers if you're prepared to haggle, and some of BMW's own PCP finance deals look especially attractive. In terms of spec, we'd teamed the S-Drive 18D engine with SE specification, which gets you dual zone climate control, rear parking sensors and sat-nav. We'd also recommend adding automatic emergency braking and the Navigation Plus package as options. And safety-wise, the X1 was awarded a full 5-star rating by Euro NCAP when it was tested in 2015. If you're in the market for a premium small SUV, then the BMW X1 definitely deserves to be on your shortlist. Yes, it is fairly expensive to buy and it does generate a lot of road noise, but on the plus side it's good to drive, has a high quality interior and offers plenty of space. If you're thinking of buying a BMW X1 or in fact any car, then remember we can help you save thousands. Just go to whatcar.com and click on our new car deals section. And on whatcar.com you'll also find our full 16-point review of not only the BMW X1, but all of its key rivals too. And finally, never miss